Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Kent, the owner and creator of the Home Kitchen, a site for musings about food and gatherings, artisanal kitchen products, and kitchen design. And we're talking today with 9 amazing women. International Women's Day. Hey, Bronwyn.
Hello.
And we're talking to Bron. I hadn't even introduced you yet. You're so quick and then there.
Too excited.
Like, I'm ready. Well, first of all, cheers.
Cheers, Allison.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I'm still drinking my Kendall Jackson wines, and I must say I'm in love. So Bronwyn, introduce yourself to us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me and for organizing this. It was the loveliest Instagram message and email to receive, and an incredible group of women. So my name is Bronwyn, and I'm part of the leadership team that produces the Interior Design Show. So it's Canada's design fair, and we have an event in Toronto with IDS Toronto. It's coming up actually in just a couple weeks in April. And then the event that's close to my heart as a Vancouver, Vancouverite born and raised, where we met. So IDS Vancouver, which takes place and returns in person this September. So I part of that team, and met the team about 10 years ago now. When I was working.
Really?
Yeah, I know, it's wild. And we go back almost that far.
I was going to say, I feel like we're not that far off.
Yeah.
And it's funny because almost everybody I know, I'm starting to lose my voice at the end of the day.
Okay. That's what the wine's for. It's medicinal.
I know, to rinse it down. Of all the people that I know in town, and everybody will say, oh, how do you know so-and-so? How do you know this artist? How do you know this designer? And it always comes back to IDS, like every single time. It's like, well, obviously I met them at the Interior Design Show. And when we met, I was doing a booth, and I was working in textiles and home decor design, and just met so many people. It's such a great community, and the way that IDS just brings it all together, but also just kind of hosts it for the city and a lot of people who don't have a lot of access to seeing a lot of projects and design, or they don't know who to talk to, or they don't know what to do. It's just a great venue.
And that's what I think is core to us for the event, is that it's not exclusive to interior designers, because as interior designers or as an architect as yourself, we both already have that language in design. Like, we've been educated in it. So it's more about the continuing education and then the connections, but especially for the consumer audience, it's that education piece around why authentic design is important. And it's also not having these conversations be too exclusive, because everyone's capacity to participate in design is very different, whether it's just appreciating it and learning more about it, or incorporating it into their renovations or their future renovations. We want to make it so that it's accessible to everyone in that way. So that's why we do have it set up. So it's both the trade audience on the trade interior design architectural side, but also for the consumers on the weekend. So
the trade days are like the meet everybody you haven't talked to, get to know the vendors a little bit better. Like, you really get to focus on being a trade in the interior design world in Vancouver. But then it does open up to the public. So often I've brought clients in, I've given them tickets, and I've said, definitely meet me. Like, I'll be there all weekend anyways. I'll meet you there. We'll walk through, we can go through new ideas, what's like exciting in the world of design. And it helps them. Like, we were talking earlier about how important it is to return to these live events.
Yeah.
Because touching and feeling is so important. And especially when a lot of people, you'll say, oh, I have this great idea that you should try, but without the visual and without the touch and feel, some people are nervous to try a new idea, or maybe they just need to like become comfortable with it by seeing it and touching it and feeling it. And that's a great venue for doing that.
I so agree. Like, design is meant to be experienced in person. It's great. We can all do tons of research online on sofas and appliances and all those things, but until you can really see them in person, see that fabric, sit on it, or for an appliance, test it. Like, there's a lot of experience centers now with appliances where you can go in and actually test them, because it's a big investment, and none of these decisions should be taken lightly. And that's something that we're going to talk about, is like how we're all looking at our spaces, our home spaces, whether it's a rental or space that you own. It's really valuing our spaces now that we're in them so much more, and looking at the investment that we're making in, and those are all big decisions. So to be able to do that in person, talk to the local makers or designers, or the, the brands and companies that sell these products. It's a really great opportunity for it. And we're just so happy to be returning back in person, because the last 2 years of, that's the whole point of design. It's adaptation. It's, adapting to the changes in the industry. That will never change in interior design and architecture. That will continue as technology changes. But, having, virtual events over the last 2 years was great. We did it, but we want to be back in person. And we're so excited to be in September, because that's how it's meant to be seen and experienced.
Yeah, you can't replicate that in-person experience for sure.
Totally.
And it's nice to be able to, in the moment, be able to talk to that vendor in person, versus when you see things on Pinterest or on Houzz, and clients bring me photos all the time, and then I have to explain which parts of those aren't actually, you can't do them. They're not legal by code, or they're not like doable practically, or you can't have like a chandelier over the bathtub. It's just not legal. And they bring all these photos to you from Pinterest and Houzz, but it's not the same as being able to stand there and say to somebody in that moment, hey, tell me about that appliance that I'm touching and feeling right now. It's it's immediate, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, something as well that is important for our event is, as much as it's both for the trade audience and consumers, it's as a family-friendly event. I'm myself a mom, as you are, and it's incorporating design, and that understanding and appreciation of design from a young age is so important. There's groups, like that Dutch Design Week in the Netherlands that do this so well. It is completely acceptable for children, to be in booths, asking questions. It's something that they book the week off school. Like, it's incorporated into their holidays, and they come to the show so they can ask questions and get involved in design, because design can solve problems and is solving problems right now. So I think that for me is, as much as we have the trade days, which is for our trade audience, it will forever be a family-friendly, child-friendly, stroller-friendly, nursing-friendly show, because
which happens when all the people in leadership are
women.
That's
correct. Yeah. So we're very proud to have our full leadership team across the Interior Design Show brand is women. And yeah, it's proud to be part of the team. Definitely.
The Vancouver contingent, Bronwyn. We got you.
Pacific Northwest Design. It will always be my vote, because I just finished up a call and it was saying exactly that. I'm like, yes, you may see me in Toronto, but my heart will forever be in Pacific Northwest Design. It's such a unique community. And there's like the maker culture and our understanding of like materiality on the West Coast, which is so key to, and like even just the light here on the West Coast, like every region has its uniqueness, but that is a big part of it for sure.
I've been to both shows, actually. I've been to the IDS Toronto a few times. When it was in January, is it just in April because of COVID, I guess?
Just for this year, yeah. So for 2023, we'll return to January again.
January in Toronto, people. But anyways,
I get to buy a winter jacket. It's the first time I've bought
a really good winter jacket. It's also an amazing show, just for very different reasons, though. And like you said, it's got a different design aesthetic, and it's cool to go like check it out and venture in that world too. And but like you said, the maker kind of vibe of the Pacific Northwest is kind of, if you grew up here, and that's kind of where your heart is a little bit. And it's really good to be able to see that in person. And I like how at least the last few shows that I went to, it wasn't only just the big brand booths. There was a lot of artisanal kind of smaller booth and smaller hangouts and stuff like that too. So it was that really brilliant mix of like bringing everything from, I'm not going to say high to low, but like bringing everything from across the board together, so you can kind of visualize it together and see it together and experience it together.
Yeah. And I think that's a big, it's always been important to our events, but it's been highlighted and people have been able to resonate a lot with it more now, is that importance of looking local. There's a number of things. There's a supply chain issue. Local makers, unless it's a source product, like they don't have that issue. They can make it, they're making it here in Vancouver or here in Victoria or here in Squamish. And, it's not an issue of supply chain and delivery. They can, you can custom order it or specify it and have it, there's even for custom pieces, 2 to 4 week turnaround times, which is wonderful. So it's always been important to support local and have those makers and designers at the show, but even more so now people are understanding just how important that is. So I think, that theme will continue throughout our events because it's just so key.
Fabulous. And what are the dates for IDS this year in Vancouver?
22nd to the 25th. So our usual kind of end of September. Yeah.
That was always just like totally blocked off my calendar for the last number of years.
100%. Yeah. Block the whole week off. Come on down. And that's the key to the show is like there's so many architectural design firms in town that are smaller studios. So it's, groups of 5 or 10. And it's hard. It's hard to get out of the office. Samples come to you. Your material libraries are stocked. You have lunch and learns in your office. You don't get out of the office a whole lot, especially now with the change in work from home environments and in hybrid models. IDS was really the opportunity to get out and share stories. See colleagues that you worked with before, people you went to school with before, and share stories, both successes and failures, so you can learn from each other, because it's a collaborative community. It's not, that's one great thing about it. It's not as siloed. Everyone wants to share those stories of what went well, or how can they work together and collaborate on a project if it's, if the scale of it is creeping and there's more to work on, and how can they bring the community into it and work together. So that was for me always the highlight before I joined the team. When I was attending as a designer, it was just running into someone at the bar, or at the booth, and like, being like, oh, I haven't seen you
at the bar beside the booth.
Yeah.
On opening night, the bars are beside the booth.
Yes, but you haven't seen someone in 5 years, and it's like, where are you working now? And that's the wonderful part about it, because it is about the people. I mean, especially now where there are a lot more online, e-commerce marketplace options for design. It's really about the people at the end of the day. You have options for everything now, but it's, who's going to be there at the end of that phone, a real person, a real human that's going to pick up the phone and help you solve your problems when there are shipping delays or installation issues, and problem solve them together, because it's tough when you don't know who to call when you're in those situations. So when you get to meet that person and, get their contact details, and, whether it's you call them a week after, a month after, a couple months after, it's having that network. Because for me, that's the key. It's just that network that you surround yourself with that leads to success all around. Yeah.
Networking is almost more important than your education at these points, right? One of the things that you always hear, whether it's your conversation or overhearing other conversations, is collaboration everywhere you go during IDS. Like it's a point in time where you're not in your studio, you're not in your office. You just spend the week kind of going to the events, meeting people, saying, oh, have you met this person? Oh, have you met this person? Let's collaborate. Oh, you do lighting. Well, I do architecture. Well, hey, there's a project in there somewhere. And collaboration is always just like the main buzzword. And I love hearing it every time. I'm not tired of it.
No, I use it in every sentence, but I will never tire of it, because it is, I mean, it's taking that ego out of it. And it's like, no, you are a specialist in this, like, yourself. It's like, as an architect, but also as like someone that kind of lives and breathes that kitchen environment. Like, I will defer to you. You are the expert. I don't claim to know. Just because I have a kitchen does not make me an expert. Just because I eat food does not make me.
Just because I eat food.
Yeah. So I think it's really, leaning into the experts and how you can work together and make a project, better in that capacity, is exciting. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's going to be great to get back to it. I'm really excited. I'm like going to just plan. I've planned like my travel itinerary around being
Amazing.
Here for IDS.
I love hearing that. It's great, because it is a big part of the community. I mean, it's celebrating design. Like that is, it was our tagline. It is ever evolving, but it was, celebrating Pacific Northwest design, because there is that connection between Squamish and Victoria and Seattle and even Portland, that it's just an unwritten, like we can speak the same language about design and about kind of our aesthetic and even our commitment to sustainability and the realities of the climate crisis. Like they're conversations that are very like top of mind, for the design community. So it's just great to come together and celebrate it together. And you don't have to wait till September. In June.
Well, no, because
I can't say no to anything.
I know, because now that just events in general have started back up and they've been going, that's how we reconnected, right? We hadn't seen each other in a couple of years, at least 2 or 3 years, and we reconnect and couldn't stop talking. We're like, well, obviously we just have to keep talking.
Right. Well, exactly. And so we have hopefully our seminar program, our accredited program for September that you'll be speaking at. But in June, we do have a home tour, which I am like probably spending a bit too much time on it. It's like a complete and total passion project at this point. But I cannot help it. So we'll be sharing a bit of a sneak peek, or save the date this week, but on June 4th, we'll be doing a home tour of the most amazing home designed by Lucky Studio Architecture and Gail Gore Interior Design. So the full house home. So it's a purpose-built multi-generational home in Vancouver. So yeah, the homeowner is very graciously, agreed to open up her home so we could tour through it and do small group tours, like six or less on that June 4th. So we'll have that as an opportunity to experience design and see design in person. Because yeah, we're
And
all
touch it and feel it again.
Exactly. And there'll be a lot of incredible local designer makers on site as well that have their products and their designs in the home that will be participating. So we'll share that full list because it's incredible how much talent there is in this city. And it's great to celebrate it.
That's really cool. And I think that it's going to be really exciting moving forward because we've just had such an opportunity with COVID to really look like backwards and deep into what the core of how we kind of live and move within our spaces. And so the result of that and the forward moving design ethos of that is going to be really interesting, I think, in the next couple of years as people have had that kind of, homeowners and home livers, not just the designers, but like everybody's had this chance to kind of be retrospective in a way to kind of rethink how they're living in their space. And it's going to bring up like new ways of seeing things, new ways of approaching design. And it's going to be like, it feels like we're kind of on the cusp of something really kind of fun and exciting. Whereas maybe we can let go of some of the things of the past, like all white kitchens and we can start to think creatively and be excited about design again.
Exactly. I mean, in design trends, that's one of the talks that's happening at IDS Toronto is like really moving away from design trends because they're wasteful in and of themselves. It's just like fast fashion. It's fast design, and it's the same thing. It's like a trend can be looked at in a different way. So there's not that consumption of design and that quick switch over. It's like really understanding and investing within your means, because that is an exclusive conversation in and of itself. But investing in good design and heirloom pieces and pieces that will last, and looking at that life cycle
Lots
cost
of heirloom pieces.
Exactly.
And actually, even this cupboard was reclaimed. A friend was getting rid of it, and I'm like, done. I will take it. But it does. That word trend has just always gotten to me. I can't handle it because it sounds almost like a fast fashion kind of get it now and throw it away later kind of mentality behind it, and I can't do it.
No, and that's a big part of the education around our event is, if someone is coming in as a consumer, they don't have that background or that knowledge about that's not expected that anyone would know, like what an authentic design is and what knockoffs are. I mean, it's tough. There is years of education that go into it. Right. So we try to at least start or bridge that conversation with the consumer audience because it is important. And it's looking at that life cycle cost really. Sometimes it is a higher investment at the beginning, but over time, whether it's an appliance or it also buying, within your means or buying the best of what you can afford, and how many years you do get out of that product versus having to replace it, every year or something like that. It's, they're not easy decisions, but it's that education around it that's so important.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for the next show for sure. What else is happening in the IDS and the Bronwyn world?
In the Bronwyn world. I mean, it's just exciting to be able to go to showrooms again. I mean, there was an opportunity for it, but it was very, scheduled, and it felt a little bit different. But now, like going to studio tours and seeing, I met with the most incredible ceramicist last week at her studio at the Franklin Street Studios, and, seeing her process and hearing about, even just talking about studio space in the city, because that's actually a big factor. We're not like Portland and other cities where we just have this, extra industrial space that's around for creating and making. Like it's tough in this city to produce and to make. So going and being able to visit makers and designers and go to showrooms and see what's new, because otherwise these launches
them and celebrate them
because otherwise the launches have been happening virtually, and it's so tough. Like when lighting designs are launched and it's done virtually, as good as the renderings are, as amazing as that promo pieces online, it's like it doesn't replicate seeing the glass in person and seeing it dimmed and seeing the light quality and temperature. So I think that everyone's feeling much more open and varying comfort levels, but being able to return to popping into showrooms and going to potentially social things in the evening and things like that. That's a big part of the community.
With your glass of wine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I can't wait. It's going to be a fantastic summer, fall, June, and
Yeah.
July. And everybody can find these events on IDS Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. So you can, for the Vancouver crowd or the Pacific Northwest crowd, at IDS Vancouver, and then at varying degrees of Canadian design across the IDS Toronto account, so at IDS Toronto as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, wonderful.
I will
Well,
add them in there.
there we go. Thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging out on International Women's Day. It was fun.
It was super
We're
fun.
going to chat again for sure and hopefully do some speaking together.
It's in the books.
Big things
It's
to
happening.
come. Okay, thank you, Bronwyn.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.